What's up, guys? So I'm in a bit of traffic right now. I'm downtown Manhattan on my way to go pick up Chelsea, but I had to make a quick little video for you guys. I just recently joined an application called VinWiki. I'm gonna put it right here. It's pretty cool. You guys should definitely go check it out, especially if you're into cars like I am. It gives you a chance to kind of just put your view or your timeline on your experience with the car that you currently have now up until you sell it. It's good for you, it's good for the seller, it's good for the buyer, because it, like I said, it's kind of like a record beyond Carfax. Like I said, if you like cars, it's good. I used the app and took the opportunity to kind of share my car buying experience with it. Basically, I went ahead and bought my car not last year, and at the end of 2016, in September 12th exactly, I went ahead and I bought it. At the time, I needed a car bad. Like, I needed a car for work. I was working in Queens and Brooklyn, so I needed a way to get around fast. And at first I was just looking for a normal, regular car, nothing crazy. And then my friend, who at the time had the nicest RSX, he was like, oh, well, you should get an RSX. And I started to look at them. A base model RSX was like $4,000, which was like in my ballpark because I just wanted a car for to and from work, right? And then from then it was like, no, you can't just get a base model, you got to go ahead and get a Type S. So I started looking at Type S's, and as you guys can imagine, Chelsea was not happy. She was like, listen, you got to stick to what you can afford, and blah 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 blah. But me being how I am, I went ahead, I started looking at Type S's, and before you knew it, I was on Craigslist calling these guys, trying to check these cars out. So I went ahead and I took a weekend where I just like went down there to go look at a couple of cars, and they weren't really what was advertised, right? They were pretty messed up, or something was wrong with them. And Sunday night I was on Craigslist and I saw this car, black RSX with white wheels, that caught my attention. So I said, let me call this guy. He was asking high price, more than I wanted to pay for a car, but I said, you know what, maybe if he's paying that much for it, that means the car is in pretty good condition. Let me go check it out. So I called the guy. We met up for we set up to go check out the car the next day. Now, the next day I didn't have work. It was a Monday. I forgot what kind of holiday it was, but for some reason I didn't have work, right? And so I went to go check out the car. Now, this is where kind of just amateur stupidity and being impatient, you can see, start to kick in, right? Because the car was in Connecticut. Now, I live in New York City. I live in the Bronx. So Connecticut is this part of Connecticut is about 2.5 hours away from where I was, right? So I got up early and took the trip, 2.5 hours down to go see the car. I went down there, I saw the car, I had the cash in my hand. I liked it, didn't really see anything that was wrong. The car was in the back of a Nissan or a Toyota dealership, right? And the guy had told me, look, the mechanic is here, he has serviced it, he knows a lot more about it than I do, you know, he's gonna explain to you everything. So I spoke to the mechanic. He told me everything that he had done to the car. He had changed the oil, the coolant, everything. I said, great. Now, me being impatient, you know, I didn't see a lot of, like, I went through the bottom of the car, the engine and everything, but I didn't really went into full detail. I was just so anxious to get the car, right? So, being like the shrewd negotiator that I am, I didn't even talk him down a cent. Like, literally, he asked for this price. I went there with the cash in my hand and I said, here. So, not only did I drive 2.5 hours to go check out this car and pay for it, I couldn't take it because my friend didn't get out of work until later on that day, and he was the one that was going to take the plates from his car and put it on mine, and we were going to drive back. So I drove 2.5 hours to get there. I paid for the car, gave me the keys and the title, and then I drove 2.5 hours back to New York City to go pick up my friend, drive 2.5 hours back, pick up the car, and then drive another 2.5 hours back. So we go ahead, we get to my house. I'm all ecstatic. The car looks really nice in my garage. I'll put a picture here. I was just really happy about the whole situation. For the next couple of days, that was on a Monday. For the next couple of days, I would just sit there in the garage as I was trying to figure out how I was going to insure or register the car. But I was 21 at the time, and I had gotten into previous trouble with the police, with driving and stuff like that, with my license being suspended twice. So there was no way I could ever insure a car. And I got the call Monday. Thursday I had it registered, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna take the car out. I'm gonna wait for tomorrow, since it was late, and at the DMV here in New York it takes a while. I said, you know what, tomorrow I'm gonna go out and take it for a nice drive and get to really enjoy the car since I got it. Thursday night I went to go turn it on because, again, I couldn't wait, and I took it one time around the block, came back in, and I stalled it, right? Of course I would. So I turned it back on. Turning it back on to put it back into my garage, it had like a bit of trouble turning on. It was like, kind of didn't want to. So I said, it's probably nothing. So I put it back in the garage, turned it off, and that was that. Friday, I went ahead and got the GoPro. I set everything up. I go to turn on the car wouldn't turn. So I tried again, the car wasn't turning on. I was like, there's just no way I went ahead and spent all this money on this car and it doesn't run, right? So I was just super scared. I called the seller. He said he had no idea what was going on, or at least pretended to. I called a couple guys to come check out the car. I said, look, can somebody help me? I went on forums, see what I could find. Later I came to find out that I had a blown head gasket. I called the guy up. He said, I have no idea what you're talking about, which I later came to find out it was a lie, since he had a gasket receipt in the glove compartment, meaning the head gasket at some point had blew previous to it blowing then, and they went ahead and replaced it with a $30 O'Reilly's head gasket, right? So again, I was upset. It got nasty. He ended up blocking me. I couldn't do anything on the legal side, just simply because he lived in Connecticut, I lived here. In order for even court to be a thing, I would have to drive up and drive back 2.5 hours. So that would be 5 hours wasted out of my day, knowing that there could be a possibility there might not even be a case. Because here in New York City, if you buy a car from a private seller, the buyer is responsible for a PBI, or pre-buyer's inspection. So that just kind of like made me sink even more, just simply because I said I might have just thrown away all this money, no reason. But I waited for about 10 days. I found a shop that was famous here in the Bronx for working with Hondas and Acuras, and I said, okay, let's do it. I called a tow trucking company, and sure enough, the guy came in a flatbed. My car was extremely slammed. It was low to the ground, so I had to go ahead and take off the front bumper. Now, I kind of explained to the guy, because his ramp was really at an angle. You know, the car is really low. Even with me taking off the bumper, there was a possibility that it could scrape. No, it's fine. I've been doing this for years. As soon as he went to go pull the car up, he like scratched the whole radiator from the bottom of my car, and one of the hoses popped out. There was, as you can imagine, coolant all over the floor. It was a mess. Nevertheless, he took it down to the shop. It was ready in about a little less than a week. When I went there, they charged me a ridiculous amount of money. They charged me $700 for a head gasket. And not only did they charge me a ridiculous amount, but it wasn't like it wasn't fixed, but there was still leakage of oil. So that kind of really, you know, I couldn't believe that this shop, who had been infamous for, you know, working on these cars and had a good reputation, just kind of did that to my car. I'm not sure why they did. I'm not sure if it's the car came in at a particularly wrong time. But not only did they not fix it correctly, but when the car got back to me, the wheels had been freshly powder coated, and when the car got back to me, 2 of my wheels were scratched. They had been rubbed on the curb. I don't know how they did that, but nevertheless, it is what it is. After that, the car did run fine. Like I said, I had the car for a little bit over a year, but just about 10,000 miles on it, or a little bit less than 10,000 miles on it. But what I can say is I had a lot of fun with the car. I enjoyed it as much as I could, and that money that I paid for it, I feel like I didn't get back, but I feel like it was definitely well worth it in the time that I kept the car. It ran pretty good after I had it. I had no issues. I took a couple of road trips with it, but it was just time for something different. The car was very sporty. It was too low. It was too loud. It had solid motor mounts, so the whole inside of the car would shake. And so that was kind of a problem when it came to keeping the car. But like I said, I had a really good time for about a year and change, and now it's on to something else, something better. Chelsea's car, you know, we can both drive. It didn't really make sense to keep my car and then keep this, just simply because, you know, Chelsea doesn't really drive this. She drives this a lot on the weekends and sometimes when she gets out of work. But in terms of like on a day-to-day basis, I mean, she can't, because she works in Manhattan. So as far as everything goes, I mean, I think that was my kind of my horror buying story. If you should get anything out of this, is maybe just take your time, be a little more patient. Definitely negotiate, because you can definitely negotiate anything, you know what I mean. I took a pretty big loss when it came to selling my car, because you know, I took out everything that the car came with, the wheels, everything. So, you know, I basically just sold the car stock as much as I could. But it didn't have to go down the way it did. It could have been something a little bit better. I didn't have to waste as much money as I did, because not only after I did the head gasket, I also wasted money on suspension, and there was a couple other things, but it wasn't too bad. Overall, I spent a little less than $10,000 overall on the car, with the price included, of course. So, you know, just kind of wanted to share my little story with you guys. Like I said, if you guys are interested in the app, it's really cool. You guys go check it out. If you want to see me and my pictures with my car, I'll put the name on the description. You can click it, you can go check it out. And, you know, if you guys have any questions, shoot me a message and I'll help you out. So again, thanks for watching my video. Like and subscribe.